Now I want to take a look at this, and especially I want you to use your international theorist translator and to tell us what Putin means when he says, here's how he has changed his nuclear doctrine. Watch this.
Предложено внести ряд уточнений в части определения условий применения ядерного оружия. Так, в проекте основ расширена категория государств и военных союзов, в отношении которых проводятся ядерные сдерживания. Дополнен перечень военных угроз, для нейтрализации которых выполняются мероприятия ядерного сдерживания. На что еще особо хотел бы обратить ваше внимание. В обновленной редакции документа агрессию против России со стороны любого неядерного государства, но с участием или при поддержке ядерного государства предлагается рассматривать как их совместное нападение на Российскую Федерацию.
So he has basically changed his doctrine. We had Lavrov about 10 or so days ago said that they were updating their nuclear doctrine, and now here Putin actually says it. What's different about this?
If you look at the old doctrine, he said that the Russians would consider using nuclear weapons if an adversary invaded with conventional forces and threatened the survival of the state. Okay? Here, he is not talking about an adversary invading with conventional forces and threatening the survival of the state. He's basically saying that if Ukraine launches missiles at Russia, and those missiles are missiles that were supplied by the West, he will consider using nuclear weapons. So this is a fundamental change in the doctrine, right? In other words, we're not talking about Ukraine and the United States and NATO allies invading Russia and heading towards Moscow, threatening the survival of Russia. That was what the original doctrine said would be the contingency where the Russians would consider using nuclear weapons. That's not the issue here. He's saying if a country like Ukraine merely launches Western supplied conventional weapons, we're not talking about nuclear weapons, Western supplied conventional weapons at Russia, Russia will contemplate using nuclear weapons. So he's saying that if we give them ATACMS and we give them Storm Shadows and we give them in large numbers and the Ukrainians use them to hit Russia, the Russians will consider using nuclear weapons against Ukraine and presumably against the West. That's not to say they will use them, but they will contemplate using them.
Now, the argument is we actually had General Ben Hodges on the show, surprisingly, last week, and I asked him about that, and he says, oh, no, there's zero chance that Russia would ever do that. And that echoes something that you hear a lot. Here's John Bolton giving voice to what a lot of people on the West actually think.
If you're worried about what Putin said and we react accordingly, you're going to give him what he wants at absolutely no cost to him. My response to Putin's remark, as to earlier threats involving nuclear weapons, is to say to him privately and publicly, if Russia uses a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin has signed his personal death warrant.
So the view is, and actually, and we're going to see this in a clip in a second, where you were on Piers Morgan, and we're going to ask you some specific things about that because that was similar. But he made a similar comment in his show there that he'll never do that because he'll be vaporized, I think is the term he used. What do you say to all these people when they say basically there's no way Putin will ever use nuclear weapons?